And does anybody know how to get off these lists? I mean, I have always had multiple email addresses that I use as like not burner accounts, but like spam accounts. I was very fortunate like 15 years ago to have some tech guys say like, "Oh, I've got a spam email," and I'm like, "Oh, that's I'll do that." Um, is there any way once you're on, because it just seems like they just sell it around
Yeah.
and around.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that people have been commenting on. They say like, I say stop to quit, like it says, and then they just send it from like another another one of these groups, right? So there's not, to my knowledge, an easy way to get off the list. The answer to this is hopefully having someone, with authority at the party level decide that they should not be part of the fundraising ecosystem and get ourselves off, like get everyone off the list.
How would that happen? I mean, I know this isn't necessarily your part of your
Yeah.
portfolio, but I mean, would the chair of the Democratic Party say anybody who works until I am convinced that Mothership is in compliance with these ethical guidelines? Anybody who works with them, we're cutting off. Is that
Yes.
basically it?
Yeah, you just put them on a list and say anyone who work that firm and anyone who is a vendor for that firm is on a list of vendors and consultants that are not going to get paid by the party, and the party is going to say that the candidate shouldn't pay them either. If you have they tried to do like there was an attempt to do that with consultants who had worked for primary challengers. They have the ability to do it. And that's not something outside of their purview. They should be policing the space. They have a responsibility to do that.
Again, this might be a little bit outside your portfolio, but it seems to me that this is not on its face part of an interesting ideological battle, but
Hmm.
but one step forward or back, downstream or upstream from it, it feels like it seems to me that it is that there is a consultant class within the Democratic Party that we have this problem with Harris's campaign. Like, that was a lot of money, and we know that media buys enriches consultants much more than, let's say, canvassing does. And there is just a sort of corporate mentality about like, I'm here. The days of the company man, that was a quaint notion in the 50s. It's really like, I'm here, I'm in a corporate structure. How do I enrich myself as much as possible within this sort of like consultant world? And that to me has some ideological basis, it feels like.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I think the framework I tend to think about it in is sort of like a more traditional establishment versus anti-establishment framework within the party. Um, for instance, there are a lot of candidates, a lot of members of the Democratic Party who really dislike the consulting class as it exists. And that's one of the dividing lines within the party. And I think it breaks along the sort of traditional establishment versus more anti establishment element to the party. And that can break across ideological, sort of like progressive versus more centrist framework. You can be anti establishment anywhere along that framework. And I think that's a really important divide within the party right now, and one that's playing out. That I think that this is the election cycle where the party decides whether it's going to move forward with this traditional consulting class or whether it's going to try to do something different.
I guess, and one thing to watch out in the event that that happens, there's one thing to shatter the old boy network, for lack of a better term, which undoubtedly involves people of all genders and ages. But the old boy network you don't want it to be replaced by just a new boy network as much as you want one to be replaced by a competent network. And that's always a danger. Well, I hope that there are a half a dozen reporters who have contacted you and for the stories that they're going to write on this, because this feels like something where the more exposure it gets, and frankly, the more blame the Democratic Party apparatus gets, whether they're directly responsible for this or not, the more pressure on them, because they are the ones who are the best position to shut this down. Are there other entities aside from Mothership that you've come across? Are you is this become a little bit of a project where you're starting to look at other constellations of these super PACs, or is the mothership of this?
I haven't, but there is good research in political science that uses machine learning methods to identify scam PACs. And so I just wrote this a few days ago, as you noticed, but I am looking into whether I can make a broader research agenda out of looking for how to identify these types of groups, building off of existing research. And so it's a known problem, and I'm only adding a little bit to the broader perspective, but I think this is a really important spoke and hub of this type of bad actor in the space. And so I do hope that there is a response.
Well, we're going to link back to your Substack, to this specific piece and the Substack more broadly, so that we can follow up on the work you're doing. Really appreciate it. It is, I feel like, something that there was people maybe had a vague awareness that there was something wrong here. And I think this is clearly it, and maybe more. But really appreciate the work and your coming on to talk about it.
Well, thanks for having me on. This was great.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.